Valerie Colwell, and I'll be presenting on Rudolf Dreikurs. Who was Rudolf Dreikurs? Rudolf Dreikurs was an Austrian psychologist and educator. What should we know about him? Rudolf was born in Vienna, Austria in 1897. As a side note, I lived in Vienna for about a year right after graduating from high school, and I attended my first year of university there in 1994. He attended University of Vienna. He was highly influenced by fellow Austrian psychologist Alfred Adler. Adler was well known for his development of individual psychology. He emigrated to the U.S. in 1937, where he taught psychology. He founded the North American Society for Adlerian Psychology in 1952. He authored several important books on his methods of child psychology. His books were targeted towards parents as well as educators because his methods were equally effective in both environments, and Dreikurs believed that education begins at home. Dreikurs passed away in Chicago, Illinois in 1972. Why is he so important? His methods are still relevant today, and many parents, educators, and others continue to implement them with success. Very interesting. What's important to know about his theory? Let's let Big Brain explain the big ideas that Dreikurs proposed in his methods of child psychology. Big idea number 1. Dreikurs proposed that all misbehavior in children stems from a need to belong and occurs when that need is not being met. Big idea number 2. Dreikurs' model classifies all misbehavior as seeking to fulfill one of the following needs: the need for attention, the need for revenge, the need for power, the need for avoidance, or as the result of feelings of inadequacy. Big idea number 3. He believed that children can learn to cooperate without reward or punishment when they feel they belong and are a valued contributor to a social group. He believed punishment was not an effective means of gaining student cooperation. Moreover, he felt that it was offensive and humiliating. Big idea number 4. He also believed that children learn how to cooperate via the use of natural consequences and logical consequences. Natural consequences are the natural result following behavior and can be positive or negative. These kinds of consequences are not assigned by anyone. Logical consequences are reasonable and relevant results of behavior and can also be positive or negative. These kinds of consequences are usually assigned by adults. Dreikurs also proposed that children should be encouraged for effort rather than praised for achievement. That's cool, but how can I implement these ideas in my classroom? I'm so glad you asked. Take it away, Big Brain. Class idea number 1. Help children to feel they belong and are a valued part of the classroom community by making meaningful daily connections, assigning classroom jobs and achievable tasks, gathering student input and ideas via systems such as votes and class meetings. Class idea number 2. Allow kids to learn from natural consequences and logical consequences. An example of a natural consequence would be a child chooses not to wear her coat after being encouraged to. The teacher could remind her that it is her choice to make and that if she doesn't wear it, she may be cold. The natural consequence in this situation might be that she's cold at recess. She will likely remember this in the future and bring her coat the next time. Remember that natural and logical consequences can be positive or negative. In this case, the positive consequence in this situation would be that if the child heeds her teacher's advice and takes her coat with her, she won't be cold. An example of a logical consequence. A child refuses to do his assignment. His teacher could tell him that he can choose to do it now at work time, or he can choose to do it later at playtime. In this case, the logical consequence might be that he misses out on playing if he continues to refuse, and that would be the logical negative consequence. Of course, the logical positive consequence would be that he chooses to work on his assignment during work time and gets to play during playtime. Class idea number 3. Encourage children as they make efforts to follow routines and expectations rather than praising them only after completing tasks or having successful outcomes. Example number 1. When giving a particularly challenging assignment, praise those children who are making efforts, even if those efforts are not successful. And example number 2. Praise kids who are making an effort to follow classroom expectations. The teacher could say to a particularly fidgety child, "Wow, I notice you've really been working on keeping your hands and feet in your own space. I know it's not easy to stand in line, but look at you. You're doing it." Here are some closing thoughts. We can benefit from the methods that Rudolf Dreikurs developed by applying them in our classrooms. One way that we can apply these methods is to help our children develop a sense of belonging and to feel that they are valued members of our classroom communities. Another way is to encourage cooperation and minimize misbehavior without resorting to punishments or rewards by employing natural and logical consequences. Finally, we can foster commitment and resilience by encouraging effort rather than praising achievement. And I'll leave you with some quotes by Rudolf Dreikurs. When we pay constant attention to mistakes, we discourage our children. We cannot build on weakness, only on strength. We cannot protect our children from life. Therefore, it is essential that we prepare them for it. A child needs encouragement like a plant needs water. The proper way of training children is identical with the proper way of treating fellow human beings. And lastly, a misbehaving child is a discouraged child. Thank you, and I hope you learned something new about Rudolf Dreikurs.